Companies have the data, but they lack the insights on what and how to improve. They lack a consistent approach to solving problems, a consistent structured approach. They lose vital knowledge and experience when key employees leave the business, and employees don't feel part of their company's continuous improvement journey. So these are the type of problems that we're addressing and that we're on a journey towards addressing. But the key to getting started with improvement on the manufacturing floor is by getting a proper understanding of what is happening, really understand where the pinch points are. So typically for us, if you just take an assembly line, a very crude assembly line like this here, it could be an assembly cell, it could be a person working on their own. But it's important to get insights as when you're driving improvement, but too much data can paralyze decision making as well. So our advice always is focus on capturing insights from the critical processes across the manufacturing floor. So like the constraint step in an assembly area, or critical inspection, or if it's a bigger line, then the end of line and even the start of line can feed into giving you an overall picture of how that's performing. Now, optimizing these critical processes can often be enough to get the assembly area humming. The processes in between can look after themselves. But if not, you can then focus on improving the overall flow of material between all of the processes once you've got those key processes sorted out and running well. So where do you go for the insights? Well, companies nowadays have many different sources of data to really understand where they get their insights to drive improvement. So machine data being one. But machine data only accounts for about 30% of issues in operator-led manufacturing environments. And that's based on about 3 million data points we've gathered through our platform. About 30% of issues are relating to the machine that the operators are running. The other 70% of issues are, are what's going on around the machine. It's running out of material. It's making decisions on a quality issue. It's having to do counts or waiting for paperwork, all the various different things that disrupt them throughout the day. And machine data doesn't pick up a lot of that activity. ERP data is another source of information for continuous improvement, but it's very, very top level. And it says nothing about how the processes are performing. They have many great functionalities, but how processes are performing is not one of them. Because of these shortfalls, companies give operators check sheets and spreadsheets and whiteboards to measure how well their processes are running. And they use this information to build up a picture. But very often the information is retrospectively filled out. So the operators fill in the gap in the performance after the fact, at the end of the hour or the end of the shift, which means it lacks accuracy. It lacks real accuracy as to how that process is truly performing, but also they're very time-consuming systems to maintain. So with digitalization, there is a better way. And this is just a screenshot of the app part of our product. What we focus on is capturing live feedback from production operators with just 30 seconds of interaction time with the app per hour. So the app runs on a tablet, Android or iOS, and it's positioned right where the operator is working, not at the end of the line or under the table, right where they're working. So it's in their flow. It becomes part of their standard work to interact with the app, capturing output, scrap, downtime, changeovers, all that kind of information that builds up to a very accurate real-time picture of how that process is performing. Now, the insights that you gain from that will shine a light on the critical processes that we spoke about earlier. So you start to get a much better understanding of how those processes are running. It's up and running in just an hour. It's very, very quick to set up, and you're getting live data from then on. So just a couple of examples, guys. I've removed, I'm guessing this has been recorded, so I don't have any company logos or anything up here, but a couple of ways that capturing live feedback from manual production environments can actually help drive improvement. In this case, it's a customer of ours who had an 8% yield improvement on a medical device assembly line. So really what it was they were looking for a system to capture more accurate data on scrap and rework, as well as output and downtime. And so they implemented the Kyzentree collectors at critical locations around a large assembly line that has about 25 workstations. So there were 4 of them in total. And what happened over a period of time, they built up a real-time view of when scrap and rework were occurring. And because everything is logged in real time, they started seeing very interesting patterns in the scrap that they would not be able to see if they were capturing the data at the end of the hour or the end of the shift. And this led to very, very useful information to help them to find the root cause of a critical defect that was, I suppose, plaguing them for the lifetime of the product. And as the quotation shows there, it's just something, it's a level of detail they just don't get from the more traditional paper-based methods. Another example is another client who were struggling to hit the output on their manual packaging lines. And what this meant to the company was that Saturdays became a normal overtime day for the production teams, which can be okay if you want a few extra bob, but when it becomes the norm, it becomes a problem. And so really the Kyzentree tablets were dropped into these areas, and over a period of time, it helped them address some of the downtime issues. But the biggest immediate impact of the Kyzentree platform was that because it tracks live output, the operators were able to see in real time what their output was, and they just started, it's kind of the Hawthorne effect. They started hitting their hourly output targets more consistently because they knew in real time what they had to achieve. And that was sustained, and it continues to be sustained to this day. So without doing any fancy improvement activity, the first step towards their 10% productivity improvement was just being able to track against a live target. So that's a little bit about the insights, and insights is a critical factor in effectively driving improvement activity. But of course, digitalization and insights, it's about improvement, but it's also about people and enhancing the experience for people. And on the production floor, that means really trying to understand what are the pinch points for those people. So for this, you need to think about factors besides just the insights. So, what's your approach to solving problems? Are you using a structured approach or a non-structured approach? And are you engaging the right people in those improvement projects? In my own experience, over the past 2 and a bit decades, when implementing improvements on the manufacturing floor, how well the operators are engaged in the process is directly related to the success of the project. And I've never had a successful outcome of a project without insisting that production operators were a key part of the core team. But of course, you have to do that without taking them off the manufacturing floor entirely. So there's always that balance. But bringing the operators on the journey is really important. But just another couple of aspects to driving improvement, guys, in our experience. It's about changing the mindset of who serves who. So in a traditional organization, you've got the CEO at the top and the production operators at the bottom, and information is fed upwards. And it kind of creates a cultural mindset that each layer of the organization is working for the next layer up rather than for the business, which can have negative consequences in terms of driving improvement where it matters most, which is on the manufacturing floor. So if we flip it around and the production operators are at the top and the CEO is at the bottom, in this model, the CEO has the mindset to ask how he or she can help the senior management, who in turn ask how they can support middle management, all the way up to how can we support the operators to do a better job, to hit their output and yield targets and downtime and minimize downtime. This can have a huge positive effect on how the manufacturing floor is run, and because it's constantly looking for opportunities to remove barriers that are causing inefficiencies and frustrations for the production operators on the manufacturing floor. But there's other aspects to driving improvement through the operators as well. It's about giving production operators a voice. And with our platform, we are capturing live feedback through the operators and turning that into real-time insights for the whole team to manage improvement activity, but also to run the production floor more efficiently and effectively day to day. But to really sustain the improvements, you need to make operators part of our core team for any improvement activity, but also making sure to minimize the disruption to the manufacturing processes, because in general, you still need to run production at the same time. Also, it's about building trust by asking for operator feedback, listening to their feedback, but most importantly, acting on their feedback. So once operators start seeing you acting on the feedback as to what they're highlighting are the problems, then they're engaged and you're on your journey towards getting much more impactful and sustainable improvement. But also it's about making them part of the solution. After all, it's the operators in general, particularly for improving activity on the manufacturing floor, it's the operators who have to sustain the improvement. But also it's about recognizing their contribution. And then once all those factors are in place, continuous improvement starts to become more of a habit than a nice to have for an organization. So guys, I'm not sure how if I got over time, but I just want to thank you for your time. And just to finish on ourselves, and today was about giving a bit of a background to our own philosophy around continuous improvement, as well as just mentioning our software approach to doing it. But we provide software and coaching to the manufacturing sector, to any company that wants to maximize the gains from their continuous improvement activity. So we put our software and our expertise to work in varying different quantities. If you just want our software and you've got the resources yourself, that's fine too. But we'd be more than happy to follow up with anyone who wants a proper live demo of our platform, or even a video that explains how we capture the data through the operators in real time and how that translates into insights for improvement. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and happy to take any questions.
That's fantastic, Anthony. Thanks very much. I'll just open up there for any questions anyone may have. Anthony, I have a question there. You know, this is obviously great in the manufacturing. The likes of healthcare services, just as applicable there, I presume?
Yeah, look, any process that's run by a person, you can capture insights from it. Right now, the product that we've developed for today's market, Rob, is very much focused around manual assembly, manual inspection, manual packaging, and operator-driven machines. And so in about an hour, you can have a collector set up collecting data from that process. So different teams use it. Manufacturing teams use it to monitor their critical manufacturing processes in real time, day after day, shift after shift, week after week. And it aggregates all the data up automatically, so there's no gathering data onto spreadsheets. But lean engineers use it in a different way. Lean engineers use it as a tool. So typically a lean or continuous improvement engineer will have you know, 1 or 2 or 3 of these collectors that they can drop into processes ahead of maybe running a Kaizen event. So they'll gather data for a period of days or even weeks in advance, and that information builds up a picture that they use to drive improvement. So that's a really, really powerful way of capturing data. And then a decision is made at the end of the project. Do we leave the collector behind to continue monitoring that process to sustain the improvements? And very often that is the case. Sometimes the collector's picked up and moved on to the next process for the engineer, the lean engineer or continuous improvement engineer to drive improvement. More recently, there's another category of user for the product, and that's R&D or new product introduction teams. So what they're doing, similar to the lean engineers, they're dropping the collectors into processes before design freeze. And that's building up a picture of how well those processes are running, and they're flagging the issues before the design is locked in and the processes are lumped over the wall into manufacturing. So that's helping them to fix and address issues in a way that they would traditionally leave until later in the development process. So there's some ways it's used.
And just on the data itself, does that trend over time, you know, that you can compare shifts for argument's sake, or, you know, is the productivity increasing, decreasing, the analytics side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are kind of three types of analytics, and I maybe I should have brought some of this into the slides, but there are three types of analytics. There are live analytics that show you the critical information you need to see in real time, like are you ahead or behind target, how much downtime you've had, what scrap issues you're seeing live in this current shift. Then there's summary dashboards that are used for daily team huddles for meetings. And then there's the longer term trend analysis that you're talking about there, Rob, where you look at issues over time and you start seeing trends in defects, trends in downtime, trends in performance levels, and then you act accordingly for improvement on those.
Thanks. I just raise it out there to anyone else with any questions.
Hi, Anthony, it's Jack Cahill here. I just a question on the collectors. I was just wondering if they're ATEX rated or not.
They can be. So we do have ATEX. We have this in manufacturing environments that are ATEX rated. So that can be done. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks.
No problem.
I suppose just one last thing there from me. The likes of the digitalisation vouchers and that, would they apply to this, Anthony?
They do, Rob. So yeah, we're registered with Enterprise Ireland for that. So you can avail of the digitalisation grant through ourselves. We can come on site, map out how you might use our product, and use it to drive improvement. And just to note, guys, that we're primarily about the tech, but we do improvement as well. But we are just engaging with a partner of ours. I see Pat on the screen there. I hope it's okay to say it, Pat. But Pat's from Leading Edge. So Pat and the Leading Edge team are embracing digital in a way that really one of the more forward-thinking lean consultancy companies in Ireland. So we can also, where there's a bigger amount of work to be done, we partner with Pat and his team there to drive improvement as well. And that can all be done through the digitalisation voucher scheme. It's lunchtime. I'm guessing everyone's probably munching on a sandwich in the background there. So,
Yeah, so Anthony, just on behalf of the Southwest Lean Forum today, I'd like to thank you very much. Very informative, and having seen the presentation on the dashboards, this really does capture Lean live, and the power of process improvement and the potential of it is fantastic. So well done, and thanks again. And I'm sure if anyone wants to contact you, you might just leave the details there on the chat as well. And just for any new members as well, the Southwest Lean Forum at gmail.com if anyone's interested in joining through Enterprise Ireland to register for Southwest Lean events for the future. So
yeah, great. Yeah, my details are on the screen, and I said Killian has probably dropped details into the chat there as well.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's there. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, feel free to reach out. Thanks again, Rob and Ciara. Very much appreciate this opportunity, and delighted to share anything further with anybody on the call here or your colleagues. Feel free to share our story. We're an Irish company. We're ambitious about growing, and we'd love to work with more of the southwest of the country. Okay. So
thanks very much, Anthony.
Sure.
Okay.
And
Cheers,
thanks to Ciara Lavelle as well for organising today. Thanks very much, Ciara.
You're welcome. Thanks, Rob. Thanks,
appreciate it, Ciara. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rob.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your
Enjoy the rest of it.
Okay.
Thanks everyone. All the best.
Thanks all. Thanks,
Cheers,
Anthony.
guys. All the best. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you.